So about a month ago, I got an email from a company that I've never heard of before that wanted to send me a new blow dryer or hair dryer or whatever your preferred pronoun is over the dryer industry. And when I saw it, I was like, I feel like I've seen something a little bit like this before. Of course, I'm referring to the blow dryer that I've been using for the past 4 years at least, which is the Dyson. But then I saw the specs, and most importantly, I saw the price. And I was like, this is interesting. Send it over. And then about 2 weeks ago, I got it in. I got this right here. This is the Lafin or the Lafin. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but this is the new blow dryer that I was sent. And within those 2 weeks, I've been testing this very thoroughly. Total transparency, I was a little skeptical at first because this is a new hair dryer made by a Chinese company. But the thing about China, they can make some really terrible cheap stuff, but they can also make some really high quality stuff. So I was curious to see which camp this would fall into. And I'm happy to report from my 2 weeks of testing, I'm actually very pleasantly surprised. I also want to mention that this is not a full-blown long-term comparison, of course, because I've been using the Dyson or various versions of the Dyson for the past 4 years. I've been using this for 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and start with the price that I mentioned earlier. Pretty sure you're all intrigued. Well, let's just say it's starting to look like Dyson is facing some serious competition because it's not just this, the new Shark hair dryer also came out that is much cheaper than the Dyson, but this isn't about that. Right now, the Dyson blow dryer is a whopping $400. And don't get me wrong, I loved using my Dyson when it works, that is, and that's something that we'll get into a little bit later in this video. But $400, and that's the base model, is a lot to swallow for blow dryer. The Lafin, I'm just gonna refer to it as Lafin from now on. Don't know the exact pronunciation. We'll have an early bird price of $99 when this comes out and a full retail price of $199, which is exactly half the cost of a Dyson blow dryer. Unfortunately, while I'm filming this, I don't know exactly when this is gonna be released, but when I find out, I will update it in the description of this video. So yeah, at $199, it's still pretty expensive, but if it really lives up to the performance of the Dyson, it's starting to look like a pretty good deal. And of course, we're gonna be getting into on-screen performance, but first, let's start with design. At first glance, it's clear that there was a large amount of design language inspired by the Dyson, but I will say, it's clearly not a one-to-one ripoff if you look for more than just a couple seconds. For starters, it's actually smaller than the Dyson. And you know, when I first saw the Dyson, I was like, oh, it's a pretty small blow dryer. Now, it's not smaller by much, but definitely noticeable side by side. And do I dare say, it actually looks maybe a little slicker with the edges being a little smoother and not so harsh, especially where the body transitions into the nozzle. The other obvious difference is the back. The Dyson has a hole punched out where the Lafin is fully covered. And fun fact for those of you who didn't know, the Dyson actually sucks air through the base of the hair dryer and not this hole. The Lafin does the same thing, but the hole in the Dyson, from what I can tell, doesn't serve much purpose except for maybe making the overall unit a little lighter in weight. And speaking of weight, even though the Lafin is a little smaller than the Dyson, they feel very similar in the hand. And I actually measured, I got 1.03 pounds for the Lafin and 1.09 pounds for the Dyson. So it's practically the same. You really don't feel the difference. In terms of quality, the Lafin feels just as well built and solid as the Dyson. And that's not just me giving brownie points. Like, it feels really solid as a hair dryer. And this was definitely surprising to me considering the price difference. The main difference is that the Dyson has a coating that feels ever so soft where the Lafin is uncoated. And I don't have a personal preference. They both feel pretty good in the hand to me. Another minor difference is the dust prevention mechanism at the bottom. For the Dyson, it's a physical latch that locks into place in one specific area. The Lafin, on the other hand, is magnetic and doesn't require a specific location to be locked into place. You just snap it on and you're good to go. Now, generally speaking, I like magnets over latches where possible. In this case, you know, kind of nice putting it on and off, but I did notice when actually using the blow dryer, your fingers down here kind of rotate this back and forth so it doesn't feel as solid or locked into place as the Dyson. It's just a tiny little detail that I noticed while using this blow dryer. Now let's talk about button layout and functionality, and then we'll end off with performance. The button layout is pretty similar, but there are some key differences. The Dyson has 4 buttons, while the Lafin has 2. The Dyson has an on switch, a cool shot button, a temperature control button with 3 temperature settings, and an airflow button with 3 different airflows. The Lafin, on the other hand, doesn't have a dedicated airflow button, but rather combines airflow options with the power button. So if you want less airflow, you move it up once. You're powering it on and getting less airflow at the same time. And if you want more, you move it up twice. And this small difference actually makes it more convenient to get your airflow quicker with the Lafin. Since it's combined with the power, it's physical, you go up or twice depending on the level. With the Dyson, you have to keep pressing the button a bunch of times. It goes up, 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 and then down, down, down. So you got to you have to press the button a total of 6 times to go from low air up and then back down to low air, whereas this is just up and down. Does that make sense? The heating functionality is practically the same between the two. Press the heat button once for medium heat, again for hot heat, and again for cold air. And as I'm sure you'll notice, the Dyson has a cool light indicator around the rim which tells you what heat setting you're in. It might be a little over the top, but I appreciate it. Also, I personally never use the cool shot button on the Dyson. When I want cool air, I just manually set it there so I don't have to keep my finger down on the button the entire time. So for me, not having a cool shot button is not a big deal at all. But you know, maybe you feel different. The final point of functionality is the nozzle. Each blow dryer comes with a bunch of nozzle accessories that you can purchase separately, but the one that I primarily use and that came with both of these models is the precision nozzle, which directs airflow into a condensed area. So again, this is personal preference, but I actually prefer the narrower precision nozzle on the Dyson because I love that precise airflow. It just makes it feel that much more powerful. The Dyson is still very effective, but I just wish that it was a little bit more narrow. Again, it's definitely personal preference. Maybe you feel different. Maybe you feel the same. You should probably feel the same, but maybe you feel different. And all this brings us to performance and the biggest issue that I have faced with the Dyson blow dryer. Now, I would love to show you both of these hair dryers in action, but I have had nothing but reliability issues with Dyson over the past 4 years of owning this thing. This is now my 3rd Dyson that has simply stopped working for no reason. Plug it into the wall one day, I click the on button and there's just nothing. There's no noise, there's no lights, there's nothing. And I do clean the filter, by the way. I know, but expecting some comments being like, you gotta clean the filter. I clean the filter, still nothing. And that's it. And again, this is Dyson number 3.
Hey, stop hating on Dyson.
This is the 3rd Dyson that's broke. Now Dyson has been good at replacing the first 2 because the first 2 were under warranty with the 2-year warranty, but this 3rd one falls outside of the warranty, so if I want a new one, I'd have to buy it myself. And after telling a few people about my experience with Dyson, I've actually heard from a few people that I personally know that their Dysons has also broken. So I'm not sure how widespread this is, but in my little bubble, these Dysons, they're struggling a little bit. Again, like I've said, I've only had the Dyson for 2 weeks, so I can't stand here and tell you how reliable it is. I simply haven't had the time to test that yet. But what I can say is that other than the nozzle being a little wider than I'd like, the performance matches what I remember the Dyson to do. I am just as happy with the Dyson as I have been with the Dyson, and with the price difference between the two, it's hard for me to see myself ever going back to the Dyson as long as this thing really does drop and is available to release when it's supposed to be. Some final details, it does include high-end blow dryer features like temperature monitoring and control, meaning that it never exceeds a certain temperature to ensure minimal damage to your hair. And when it comes to the noise, again, I really wish I could play this for you and the Dyson so you could hear the comparison, but from my memory, it's very similar. This is not a very loud blow dryer and the decibels are kind of low, so you can still hear it, but it's not crazy loud. Now, if things change or if this thing breaks, I will keep you guys updated on my Instagram, so make sure you're following over at BluMaan on my Instagram for updates on this and of course any other hair related and outfit related stuff. That's where all of that good stuff is going to be happening. But as of now, I'm pretty happy, and with my limited experience of using this in mind, I would definitely recommend checking it out next time you're in the market for a new hair dryer, assuming this thing has released by then, which again will be in the description once it does. Thank you guys for watching. Hope that you enjoyed that comparison. I think, you know, now's the time that there's a little bit of competition for Dyson, because there's this and there's also the Shark one, which you can check out yourself. Looks a little similar, but a little different. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see everybody next time.